And she said this man was on his way. They were going to their daughter's wedding. And she took sick all the way. And they had to take her to Fair Oaks Hospital. And they wanted somebody to be with her because every time the nurse would leave her, she just screamed.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, we just want somebody to sit there and hold her hand all night. And I said, okay then, I'll be there. I got in my car, honey, and I went to that hospital. And I stayed there all night long, just holding that lady's hand. And when the husband came back, he came back next morning, and I told him, I said, now I'm working under Social Security, and I cannot take no check. I said, you have to pay me cash. That man handed me $300.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So what did you do when you were working at Luther Jackson?
Well, being the first person in the school, I took care of the teacher's office,
Mm-hmm.
secretary's office, kept the drinking fountains clean, and the girls' room. And then, after that, but before that, as I told you, I started at Oak Street School. And then I went to Graham Road School, where they hired maids. That's my picture over there now.
So these were white schools that you worked in?
Mm-hmm. And then after they built Luther Jackson School, the principal was at Graham Road one day. I helped set up Graham Road School. And the principal came in one day, and the principal from Luther Jackson, he said, wouldn't you like to have this lady up there at your school now when you open up? He said, look at this school, how nice and clean it is. He said, I think I'd love to have her. Well, that just passed on by. I never thought no more about it. One day they came down there, the supervisor came down and said to me, well, Etta, you got to transfer. I said, to where? Luther Jackson High School. I said, oh, gosh, you're going to send me up there. Well, I went up there, and I stayed there for a while, and then the head man, custodian, was there. I looked at him one day and I said, you know what? One of these days they're going to transfer you out of here. I said, and I'm going to move on up again.
So you were at Graham Road, which was a white school, and then they
Uh-huh.
transferred you to Luther Jackson High
Uh-huh.
School, which was the all-black high school.
Mhm.
Which we know Luther Jackson was started in 1954.
Uh-huh.
So where did your children go to school before then? Did they go to high school? Did they go to Manassas?
Andrea, no, they weren't old enough to go to high school, but they went to Luther Jackson.
They went to Luther Jackson, okay.
Mhm. They went to Luther Jackson High School. And I had the 3 boys, but Andrea, the youngest one, that lives next door to me, she went to George, it was a school on Broad Street down there, George Mason. She went there.
Okay,
And she lived down there with a friend of mine.
okay.
And
This was after the schools were desegregated.
and then she went into Washington, stayed with her aunt, too, for a while, and went to school there. What was the name of that school?
Well, let me ask you, when you were living around here, when you would go to the courthouse and things like that, did they have segregated water fountains? Did they have segregated bathrooms?
No, I never had any, not as I can remember.
Okay.
They had, now I know some places they did have segregated drinking fountains. Yeah. But I don't remember now where it was.
Did you register to vote when you were old enough to vote?
If I lived in Walter Boulder's house, I had to vote, register to vote, and got my voter card in my pocketbook right now.
Did they make you pay a poll tax and do the test, the literacy test?
Huh?
Did they make you pay a poll tax to vote?
Lord, that's been so long ago, I don't remember.
Okay.
But I've been voting ever since I was 18, old enough to vote.
And how old are you now?
97.
Wow.
Did
Did you have any problems voting?
No. I vote over here at Woodson High.
Okay.
That's where I go to vote every year.
Were you involved in any civil rights activities to help with voting and equal rights? Did you?
No.
Were you involved with the NAACP at all?
No. Mm-mm.
Did you go to the March on Washington?
No.
Did you watch it on TV?
Yeah. When Martin Luther King was assassinated, I was in Luther Jackson up on the stage when I heard the news that he had been killed. And I said to this other guy that was there, I said, there's going to be trouble in the land. And sure enough, that's when they started that fighting everything, over there. And I said, didn't I tell you? Then they started burning the houses and everything. I don't know why they burnt their own houses down.
This was in Washington.
Yes.
The riots in Washington.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I remember that very well. Martin Luther King's speech. And Reverend Johnson out here, that man you would think if you put up a curtain, you wouldn't know whether it was Martin Luther King or whether it was Reverend Johnson.
Now, you went to Galloway Methodist Church, right? In Falls Church?
When I got married at 18.
Okay.
And that's where I stayed because Reverend Johnson told the minister down at Galloway that she belongs up here in Fairfax anyway because we just loan her to you for a little while. And I ushered under 14 ministers, 52 years.
So what church did your parents and your grandparents go to?
I ushered Mount Calvary.
Mount Calvary.
Uh-huh.
So were they one of the founding families of Mount Calvary?
Yeah, they were some of the first out there. And my mother, I think in my father's pictures on the wall out there. Susie Bowles, Walter Bowles.
Okay.
Uh-huh. Yeah, the pictures are on the wall out there.
Now, do you remember what your grandparents did for a living? You said the one grandmother was
My
what?
grandmother that lived in this house, I can't quite remember what they did. My grandmother stayed home. But I'm trying to think what my grandfather did. Oh, I know what he did. He worked over there on the Willard's farm. You remember Willard, the Willard Hotel?
Mm-hmm.
He worked over there with Mr. I tell you who, another man that worked over there too. You know Mr. Hunter? You remember Mr. Hunter? You know Warren Hunter that goes to Second Baptist Church in Falls Church?
Clyde's husband?
Huh?
Clyde's husband?
That's right. He's down there. His father worked on Willard's farm over there too. That's where that Willard Clinic is out there. And one time they wanted to run water across her place over there. And she told them, before I let you run water across my property, she said, I'll buy Fairfax.
So this was basically a black community here. Was there a name for this community?
Just the only blacks in here was this one, that house, and my mother's.
Okay.
And my sister on the corner. But other than that, there was no blacks in here.
Just whites.
We were all white.
And what did the whites do that lived here? Were they farmers?
Yeah, they farmed. They did some farming. Back over there, it was one house that set up on the hill. And when I moved here, a whole lot of people had put cars down in their old wrecked cars. And I had cleaned up this place, Mr. Walter Gaskins. One of the Gaskin men still go out in Mount Calvary, don't He used to, I don't know whether he got too sick or not. I said one day, I have cleaned up my place. I said, and those cars are just a sore eye to me. I said, and I'd like to get them out of here. There was nothing back there but woods and that one little house on the hill. And I called the county. And they came down and I told them, I said, you see, I've cleaned up all my property around here now. I said, this half acre down here, my father gave it to me because he said I had done more work for him than any child he had. So he gave me that place where my daughter is there. And I don't know, and then I let her have it. I let Andrea have that place there. I couldn't have let a better person have it. Because the other daughter had passed away and they had got a place over on Rolling Road over there. And she takes care of my medicine. See, she got my medicine all laid out there on that table. She goes to the store and gets my medicine, and then when I need something at the store, she'll do that if Sean's not here. And honey, next day when I looked down the street there and around the corner, here was a car down there, must have been a Cadillac. And they had a book that big. And these men was reading that book, reading that book, reading that book. So finally they left. Well, next morning they came back again. And when he came back, he had this other man with him. And he introduced me